Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. We're here with episode 8, the season finale of Dark. Last episode was quite interesting. A lot of focus on Claudia, and I'll get back to Claudia in a bit because this is my last opportunity to sort of speculate before we go into before all my theories are proven wrong at the end of this episode anyway. But yes, Clausen and Hannah. We had some interviews with them in the last episode with his investigating his missing persons case. But then something occurred to me, and I mentioned this a few episodes ago about Jonas when we returned to 2052. There was a scene in particular where he visited the gravesite of those who died on the day of the apocalypse, right? But at the time when he visited, something struck me as odd was that Hannah's grave was not there, right? Or at the very least, the camera didn't pan to her, which was odd because she was the person who was the most closest to aside from his dad. Of course, that ended up being proven right because she then, in the last episode, she jumped back to 1953. So that made a whole lot of sense. But then I got to thinking when Clausen brought out that letter in front of Alexander, and he said this pointed him in the right direction and told him to come to Winden. I'm going to assume at this point that that Hannah is the one that actually sends him that letter after her escapades in 1952, 1953, whatever it is she's actually doing there, which is a good question. I mean, she wouldn't be alive. I guess she could be by 1986, assuming she stays in that era, but she still has a machine, so I'm assuming she can still move between different timelines because Jonas the stranger had only taken her to 1986, but she still figured out how to operate the machine well enough to take her to the 50s. So but I'm going to wager to say that she wanted to get back at Alexander, and she actually left that letter for Clausen maybe in the 80s for him to find, and that led him to Winden to actually arrest Alexander. But even more than that, though, her intrusion on in that story is where Charlotte's parents are concerned. I've been trying to figure out who it actually could be. And while I don't particularly want to believe that, I can't see it happening with Noah. I am forced to wonder whether there's some possibility that she could actually have been Charlotte's mom. I said before that I still think there's some relation between Jonas and Charlotte. I thought maybe he was her dad, but it turned out to be Noah. But it could mean that he's Charlotte's sister in an odd way. If Hannah coming to this storyline somehow meets Noah, and they, that's a bit that I'm a bit I find a bit unbelievable because I don't see Noah falling for anyone, but then I didn't see him caring for anyone prior to the last episode, and we see where he genuinely does care for Charlotte, so he's capable at the very least. Killing children is fine, but he cares for his child. But yeah, I do wonder if there's a real possibility that it could be that Hannah is actually Charlotte's mom. She's the only person who's something of an anomaly now, having left her timeline and is wandering, in the 50s and potentially a future timeline as well in the 80s. So I think that's a very real possibility. I still think there's some connection between Jonas and Charlotte. As I said, especially with that scene with Ellie 2 or 3 episodes back, where she seemed genuinely torn about actually killing him, and it seemed to have been more than just about the prophecy. It seemed personal, so it would make sense. It would actually make sense if Charlotte was actually Jonas's sister. So we'll see. We'll see. But I definitely think Hannah is the one that sent Clausen that letter, and I think there is a distinct possibility that she could be Charlotte's mom as well. Um, there's of course still the still a few questions up in the air as far as not even just this season, but season one is concerned. The Obendorfs, we still don't know what Eric's role in all this was. Um, what was the purpose of moving all the kids in specific timelines? I know certain events needed to happen, but I can think of other ways, that they could have gotten to that conclusion without specifically choosing those kids. Yasin seemed like he was chosen at random, but there must have been a reason for Yasin in particular to be chosen and Eric in particular to be chosen. We understand why it was Mikkel, but what role do the other kids play? So, a lot of questions for that I doubt very much they'll all be answered, in this episode, but at least we'll get some answers, so we can make some predictions going into the final season 3. Yes, but on the last episode, end of theory. So in the last episode, Claudia. I didn't see her going out the way he did. I actually thought it would have been by Ulrich's hands, after the threat that he made last. But I did predict at a certain point that that he would die with Claudia because she was so insistent, on his moving in with her, that it became a bit obvious that okay, that she's going to by trying to prevent the events from happening, she will eventually become the cause of what happened. So, but then that just forces me to question older Claudia and what her motives are, because I mean, had she not told her younger self all of this information, then things would have happened differently, and things would have changed. But she seems to believe that things need to change. And I mean, we met now Jonas, the kidnapper Jonas. He's now met younger Claudia, and it still hasn't been revealed to us what older Claudia has said to him that could possibly have changed him to that extent, where he would be willing to kidnap Mikkel knowing what he knows. That's the bit that I'm the most interested in learning. What could she have said to him that convinces him that this is all worth it? Of course, we know later on the stranger says that's all hogwash, and he starts doing his own thing, because he now sees her as in the same light as he does Noah. Both very manipulated. So what could she have told the younger Jonas to convince him of that? And it occurs to me now that the stranger is, despite his saying that he's no more secrets, he's still keeping secrets, because after the revelation in the last episode, I recall Charlotte asking him if he knew who her parents were, and he said no, and that is a lie, because Noah said in a previous episode or in the last episode, that Adam took Charlotte from him. So the stranger knows, unless Adam took Charlotte when he was older than the stranger is now. But otherwise, he would know who the child was, and I don't think it was Adam who did it. I think it was the stranger who took Charlotte because of his association with Dr. Tannhaus. I do believe the stranger would have likely took Charlotte in some way to maybe convince Noah, or to force Noah's hand to do something. He would have taken a child and left her with Tannhaus. So he's still lying, despite saying that no more secrets. But I mean, as far as his mother is concerned, I can't say that I blame him, because he's now found out that okay, she's not the person he thought she was. She's actually far worse. So, but we'll see, guys. We'll see. A lot of moving parts. I can't wait to see what secrets are revealed to us this episode. So, let's check it out. Ellie, what did she do with the young girl though? She didn't kill her, did she? I've never seen that face before. Who is that? I mean, it looks a lot like Ellie. So is Ellie her mother's mother.
Das
Is that what
Ende.
they're trying to say? It's unclear
Das
because
Ende.
older Ellie's scars and face is a bit different, but is that it? Ellie's Charlotte's mom?
Passage geschlossen, aber den Kreislauf nicht durchbrochen.
Okay, so she told him
Aber
that.
du hast gesagt, wir können
that
eine kleine
much.
Komponente in der Gleichung ändern, dass ich beim nächsten Mal Erfolg habe.
All it takes is a ripple.
Wir ändern ein Sandkorn. Und damit die ganze Welt.
Ich habe dem Antrag sofort stattgegeben. Ich glaube, ihn interessiert vielleicht in Anbetracht des laufenden Verfahrens gegen Sie,
That would certainly raise some
was auf dem
questions.
Gelände zu finden ist.
Waller said, I'm out.
Ich bin schuld dran, dass alle sterben.
Was?
In ein paar Stunden geht hier alles hoch. Alles fängt wieder von vorne an. Die Zukunft fängt an. Ein neuer Zyklus.
Wovon redest du?
You're still your aunt, man. Distance. The least of which you're like much older than she is now, so it's wrong on so many levels.
Wir sind falsch. Bitte geh jetzt. Nein.
So are you going to hurt her in trying to save her? Is this what makes him into Adam, I wonder? You know, if somehow... How does that...
Brauchen, dass ich's wieder gut mache. Ich mach's wieder gut.
Is this what turns him into Adam? You know, he somehow ends up killing the person he was trying to save all along. But that's his fault. I mean, a gun? Seriously? Come on.
Da draußen gibt es zwei Seiten. Adam und Sigmundus wollen eine neue Welt erschaffen.
He's back to
Du und
spotting the
ich, wir
same
wollen diese retten.
light versus dark nonsense again.
Wer ist Adam?
Everything's just going the exact same way. Nothing has changed yet. Everything's going according to Adam's plan. Jonas has not. He has learned nothing yet, at least, and the stranger is doing the exact same thing. Yeah, I figured, man. I think Magnus and Franziska make it here.
Bitte nicht, Martha. Bitte.
Jonas would have to have survived as well, but he's trying to ensure she stays here for her safety. But something's gonna happen, and she's going to die. We didn't see anyone else, but there are definitely two other travelers. There's Franziska and Magnus, but I don't think Martha makes it there. Aside from your eye.
Auf dem AKW-Gelände. Alexander hat da was einbetoniert. Radioaktiven Müll.
Okay, so he doesn't know about the whole, how it's contributing to the time manipulation. He just thinks
Das
it's
löst es aus.
nuclear waste.
Das hängt alles zusammen. Er hat gesagt, das alles hat etwas mit dem AKW zu tun. Jonas wusste das.
Du hast Jonas gefunden?
Nein, er ist zurückgereist aus der Zukunft.
What? I mean, that's gotta sound crazy to him. I don't think he knows about the timeline thing.
Wir gehen jetzt.
The bunker.
Weiß nicht mehr, was ich glauben soll. Aber Noah hat gesagt, nur die Leute
Yeah, I
im
knew it.
Bunker überleben.
Yeah. So you've got Ellie, Magnus, and Franziska, I believe. But for some reason, Martha doesn't survive the ordeal. So somehow Martha leaves or dies, and that's what makes him the stranger become Adam.
Das Abklingbecken des alten Reaktors ist
You
schon seit
don't
den 90ern
sound
nicht
too
mehr
sure.
Das möchte ich mir gerne ansehen.
Wear protective gear. Oh, this is the first time they've actually showed someone between the 33 years. Yeah, I mean, all the time, the you know, everything that Michael experienced that she missed out on as his mom, it was right before her eyes, but, you know,
Nicht, dass zurückkommt,
didn't know it.
weil es dich dann nicht mehr gibt.
Ich wünschte, es wäre so einfach. Die Dinge, die in der Vergangenheit liegen, können nicht verändert werden.
Ich will mein Leben jederzeit gegen seins eintauschen. Aber ich kann nicht sterben, weil meine Zukunft bereits existiert.
Adam
Genauso
already
wenig wirst du in
exists.
der Lage sein, Mikkel zurückzuholen.
So what's the answer?
Da ist der Endpunkt. Vielleicht kann ich nicht verhindern, zu dem zu werden, was er ist. Aber ich kann das, was aus mir geworden ist, stoppen.
What would I don't see how you wouldn't change. All right, I guess he can't change the past, but I don't see how killing Adam would prevent any of this. Ah,
Du wolltest sie nie retten.
I think this is all a part of the plan as well. Adam must have known this would happen.
Wir können unserem Schicksal nicht entkommen.
Du hast mich all diese Dinge tun lassen. Aber ich weiß jetzt, was ich zu tun habe.
Everyone seems to believe that
Ich
killing
habe noch nicht
Adam
verstanden, wie dieses Spiel
fixes things. I don't think so.
Die Zeit spielt ihr grausames Spiel mit uns. Du glaubst, es ist deine Bestimmung, mich zu töten. Aber das ist ebenso wenig dein Schicksal, wie es meines ist, hier und jetzt zu sterben.
That he can't kill him.
Agnes.
Oh, Agnes got back into the fold.
Dieser Knoten lässt sich nur lösen,
You're
indem
gonna
man ihn voll
kill
und
Noah.
ganz vernichtet.
Kill her brother. I guess the question is, did she betray Claudia, or is she doing exactly what Claudia asked her to do? So is the stranger right, though? I'm not wondering, you know, can he even kill Adam even if he wanted to, or is it he's the only one who can actually kill
Das ist
him?
die Zeit. Wir verbinden Vergangenheit und Zukunft.
Alright, it's time. But no one else is in the bunker, it's just Martha. Birds. Don't stop. Keep going, keep going. Ah.
Vater. Ist alles in Ordnung? Wir hatten dich hier eingesperrt. Hey, warte, warte.
Ja,
hey, warte,
she
warte,
is.
du kannst da nicht raus! Warte!
I know it's. Yeah. But then Mads and Franziska need to be there as well, don't they?
Gehen beide nicht ran.
You guys need to get to the bunker. That her dad.
Mein Vater. Er ist mit Elisabeth im Bunker.
Dieser Noah sagt, er ist dein Vater und kommt aus der Zukunft. Nein, Vergangenheit. Und er hat gesagt, dass die Apokalypse hier in Winden beginnt. Heute. Und du glaubst, dass das alles etwas mit den Fässern zu tun hat.
I thought so exactly, Waller.
Was ist das?
Das Kühlbecken des alten Reaktors
This
wurde
is
wohl
where
schon
it
versiegelt.
happens.
Wird Teil der grünen Wiese.
So it's causing the cause somehow?
Das weiß ich nicht genau.
Ich möchte, dass das hier abgebrochen wird.
Are you serious?
Jetzt?
Jetzt.
Aber Sie können ihn
That's
doch
a
nicht
bit
noch mehr
reckless,
nach da
isn't it?
behalten. Er hat nichts getan.
Even if he has a search warrant, that seems a bit reckless.
Regina?
Ah. Mom, not aged a day.
Es tut mir so leid. Ich wollte nicht einfach so gehen. Ich erklär's dir.
Desire.
Regina. Es tut mir so leid.
Er hat dich geschickt. Adam. Ich habe mich immer gefragt, wann du zu ihm geworden bist.
Yeah, so he did know.
Ich werde niemals das tun, was er getan hat. Sag, dass wir Freunde werden. Bevor du mich verrätst.
They become friends.
Warum folgst du ihm?
Warum bist du ihr gefolgt?
Guess I told you the things you wanted to hear.
Du ihn tötest. Tötest du jegliche Hoffnung auf Erlösung.
How?
Er ist der Retter.
Really? Except you don't believe that later on. You believe he's waging a war against humanity.
Was ist das? Lies. Er ist von Martha.
How do you have a letter from Martha?
Du musst sie retten. Bartosz, Magnus und Franziska. Später mich und Agnes. So wie es die Prophezeiung will. Und damit Martha leben kann.
Ah, jeez. Oh. That's a bit pointless, isn't it? Everyone's trying to save somebody.
Du bist sie.
I love that her hair is now down. She's becoming, more and more the Claudia that we've known, the older Claudia. Interested to know what part Katerina plays in all this. Okay.
Ich hab dich gesucht.
Stranger must have known this as well, right? So
Ich muss dir was erzählen.
Ich weiß alles.
he should have really just stayed at the bunker to ensure she didn't leave. Why come back here? The apocalypse is almost here, guys. Now is not the time.
Glaub mir etwas anderes.
Schließt sich der Kreis.
Von was wär's das?
Sage ruhig weg.
Oh, he needs to become himself. But it has to be that Martha dies somehow. That's the only thing I can see that makes him become this thing.
Der Auslöser sind wir alle. Jeder einzelne von uns.
So maybe Adam kills her.
Schwarze Materie. Sie muss entstehen, damit ich sie in der Zukunft zu ihrer neuen Bestimmung führen kann.
Which is? What's the
Dem Ende
new
dieser
purpose?
Welt.
Oh, okay. Well then.
Ich bin der
Same gun.
Auslöser dafür, dass du zu dem wirst, was ich heute bin.
Yeah, he kills Martha. But how would that make him want to become Adam? That part I'm just not clear on.
Du wirst diesen hier dein Leben lang mit dir tragen. Bis du endlich bereit bist. Los. Wir versuchen sie zu retten.
Choice.
Du wirst wissen, was zu tun ist.
And he decides to try to save her. The stranger up to this point is still doing the same thing.
Stopp! Nicht öffnen! Das ist ein Fehler.
Nein, Frau Doppler. Das ist unser Elefant.
Sie haben keine Ahnung, um was es hier wirklich geht.
Aufmachen.
Nein, bitte nicht!
Aufmachen!
Nein, das ist falsch!
Jonas, das ist alles deine Schuld.
Ja, es ist meine Schuld, alles. Aber ich bin hier, um euch zu retten.
Wovor retten?
From me.
Vor der Apokalypse.
Was für eine Apokalypse? Was ist mit Martha?
So they don't make it to the bunker, then so they just use the machine to save themselves. Too late. And it begins again. Alright, so Noah's there. I guess that's how they meet. I wasn't expecting Regina to be there though. Or Peter for that matter. So it begins again. Mom, daughter. Yeah, that's definitely Franziska. Where is he taking them though? That's what I want to know. Jonas, how are you not realizing this? Okay. Future Martha. That I didn't see coming.
Ich bin nicht, wer du denkst, wer ich bin.
You're not? Okay. Device has been upgraded.
Ich erklär's dir später. Wir müssen hier weg.
Aus welcher Zeit bist du?
Die Frage ist nicht aus welcher Zeit, sondern aus welcher Welt.
A world. Interesting. All right. The season finale of Dark, and what an episode. So much, so much. First off, I mean, let's talk about Adam for a bit because I'm beyond frustrated with Jonas at this point. You know, again, at times I said that I judge him too harshly because, you know, at this point in time, younger Jonas at least, despite the fact that he's been through multiple timelines, he's still a kid and he's still very much thinking like a kid would. But then you see the stranger making the same mistakes that he has made in the past as well, and you feel nothing has changed for Jonas. I'm curious to know though. One of the things that kind of threw me a bit in this particular episode, I like it, but I simultaneously don't like it. Was where Noah was about to kill Adam and he was not able to because supposedly, you know, he's not fated to kill Adam is I think what they were trying to say. And the reason why I said I'm not sure I like that direction as yet is because so far for Dark season 1 and for the most part in season 2, it's been science fiction, but it's been as grounded in reality as possible. And I feel as though now we're going outside of science fiction and into, you know, fate and who's allowed to do this or that. I don't always do. I was enjoying the ride so far, as you know, it's somewhat pseudoscience, but it's based on actual scientific, you know, scientific knowledge. So I'm not sure how I feel about that part of it just yet. But again, I mean, we're dealing with time travel, so who knows? We'll see how or where the story actually takes us, and that also brings us to the, you know, Martha, older Marthas or future Marthas, you know, last statement here at the very end that, you know, the question isn't, you know, when she's from, it's from what world, and that suggests that they're going into, you know, again, a different territory from what I'm accustomed to with Dark so far. And that's not to say that it's automatically bad or it's a bad direction to go to. It's just it runs the risk of falling into the stereotypes that Dark has so brilliantly, you know, avoided up until this point. So I'm still curious to see where that actually goes. This is just taking the story in a significantly different direction than what I've come accustomed to watching this series and what I've loved in the series so far. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. But yes, back to Adam. Yeah, Noah has unfortunately died. While we didn't love the things he had to do, at the same point he was always a very compelling character to watch on screen. I made a joke at one point about, you know, he's never smiling throughout the series. Of course, there's very little to smile about in Dark at all. And I mean, we've seen him become this person who actually legitimately has someone he cares about, which is, you know, a huge different from what we've been exposed to in season one, as far as he's being cool and calculating in season one. So you see where he cares about Charlotte and and Elizabeth, which again that was mind blowing. Yeah, that's a very weird one to wrap your mind around. It's like Jonas should be happy he doesn't have to come to terms with that one, because that's far worse than his my aunt is my girlfriend situation that he has to deal with. Much worse. But I definitely didn't call that. I actually thought it would have been Hannah earlier on, because she disappeared from the timeline, from the 2019 at least. But it's yeah, Elizabeth is Charlotte's mom. It still doesn't explain as to why she was so hesitant to actually kill Jonas, unless it somehow impacted what happens with Charlotte and Noah later on, which I don't see how it does. So that bit kind of threw me, but we'll see. I mean, there still very much could be a connection of some sorts, but we'll see in the coming season. I definitely expected some the others to survive, because in the last episode when they identified Magnus, I immediately figured the other woman with Magnus, older Magnus, would have actually been Franziska. We saw them holding hands here in the end, when the apocalypse happened. So that is definitely Franziska. So Franziska and Magnus survived. I thought they would have been in the bunker. They weren't. So there, the stranger saved them, but he took them somewhere else. So wherever it is that these that they are now, wherever, when we were first taken to in the 20s to Adam and Magnus and Franziska. So obviously they were teleported to some other world, and then they came back, and then Adam somehow believes he's humanity's savior. Right? So what exactly is it that he learns? I actually thought initially that the tragedy that happened here with Martha was what actually made him become Adam, but from what future Martha has said here, it's very likely that the stranger has taken those two somewhere else. With the knowledge that this Jonas that the younger Jonas has, he would have taken them somewhere else, potentially to another world. The devices may be different, but I'm assuming that they operate the same, as long as you know how to actually operate it. I think future Martha just has a more updated version of that device, and Adam did say that to younger Jonas in the room, that from the bunker, and he went through the different stages of the device itself, and its development. So I'm now wondering if Adam is now painting himself as the savior of humanity. Is he right? Because if we are going down the road of different worlds, it may very well be that he is trying to save everyone. But I'm not getting on board with why he would need everything to go the way it has in order to do that. That much is, I imagine, won't be clear to me until we get some more details as to what worlds future Martha was actually talking about, and we have a bit more details to speculate about that. But if things do go according to plan, though, I'm curious now as to what happens to Regina. We see now how Claudia survives, but what happened to Regina, and what happened to Peter? We don't see them in the future. If they do survive here, they are the only survivors after the apocalypse. Then those people that we meet in 2053, I mean, who are those people, and where did they come from? Those people that were those with Ellie, but also those that were coming in, right? Because we saw Ellie hanging some Frenchmen at a certain point as well. So there are other people who survived this, I'm assuming. Yeah. Ah, and I'm also curious to know what role Katarina plays as well. She's actually playing a bit more of an integral role in this than I initially thought. I'm assuming that her intention is to travel back, but if this is the end, if this is the end, so that the cycle can begin again, then it doesn't mean that in season 3 we will be starting over again, following along the same line of events, but also simultaneously following where Adam and the other characters, the other futuristic characters. So yeah, I'm curious what comes next. That much I'm blank on. So we'll see. But I mean, one of the things I wanted to highlight as well is just the writer's attention to detail. One of the things he noted at the end here with Adam was the very gun that he actually used to kill Martha here. The writers didn't introduce that properly, and it was just thrown away. It was the same gun that Hannah stole from Alexander, and then the stranger took from Hannah, and he kept it with him for 33 or 30 odd more years, and then uses it to actually kill Martha. So, that was just very, very good writing right there, and I'm glad to see that they didn't just throw that away. Adam, of course, being the one to actually kill Martha. I mean, I called it. I expected it to happen because there were. I think I said it a few episodes back. It had to be one of two persons. When he had the conversation with between Adam and Jonas, I said at the time it had to have been either his mom, because that's the only other person he was close to aside from his dad, or it had to be Martha, and he had to have been the one to kill one of the two. But then the Hannah scenario went out the window when he discovered, the kind of person his mom actually was, and then she disappeared. So that just left one possibility, and that's that Martha would die by his hands, Adam's hands. So so that definitely happened, and I mean it's fitting that did happen. So the stranger still hasn't bought into it as yet. The stranger is still very much obsessed with saving Martha. So I'm assuming wherever it is that he now takes Franziska and Magnus and Bartosz, wherever it is he takes them, he still holds on to that firm belief that he has to save Martha until something else happens. If her death wasn't enough to actually do it, then then perhaps something else needs to happen. And that will happen on this new world that they've now gone to. But certainly interesting, guys. Certainly interesting. As far as the season is concerned, I mean, what you typically want is and you can tell that the writers knew what they were doing, what they wanted to accomplish from beginning to end for this series. So, what you typically want is to see the season get progressively better from season 1, 2, and onwards. And it certainly didn't disappoint here. I mean, I enjoyed season 1 for different reasons, and that's expected because season 1 is all about building the foundation for what's to come, and then season 2 then builds upon that and expands the world. So that was definitely not a disappointment. So thoroughly enjoyed season 1 for different reasons, and love season 2 for different reasons as well. So another fantastic episode, guys, and a fantastic season. So be sure to post down below, let me know what your thoughts are on this episode and the season overall, what your predictions are for season 3 as well. So be sure to hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys for season 3.